Today is Monday, August 10th, 2020. This is meeting of the Cherokee County School District Board of Trustees. I'd like to welcome any visitors that we may have, whether physically with us or via our YouTube channel. At this time, we will stand for our invocation by Mr. Blackwell, followed by our pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for giving us this opportunity to hear serving the children. We just ask, Lord, that during this time, as we try to open schools, we just pray that you give the administration and the schools the knowledge and the best interest, Lord, and help them all, Lord, as they have all these endeavors going together across. Lord, we just pray, God, that you just be with us as we make the decisions that affect all the kids here at Cherokee County. We just ask, God, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of board agenda. Motion, Mr. Phillips. Second, Dr. Nick. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous. Next item, approval of board minutes. I heard a motion to approve board minutes dated June the 15th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve board minutes dated June 15th, 2020.
Motion, Mr. Blackwell.
Second.
Second, Dr. Nix. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous. Next is board minutes dated July the 13th, 2020.
Make a motion to accept board minutes of July 13, 2020.
Motion, Dr. Nix. Second, Mr. Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous. Next item, board minutes dated July the 22nd, 2020.
Make a motion to accept minutes from July 22nd, 2020.
Motion, Dr. Nix. Second, Mr. Phillips. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That is unanimous. Next item on the agenda, CCSD-SC request to broadcast all Gaffney High varsity football games for the 2020-21 school year. Board approved requests, Dr. Fall.
This is pretty much every year you guys do this with WZZQ. They have become the voice of Gaffney football, and he has put in his request to continue to do that again this upcoming year if we have football.
Do I hear a motion to approve WZZQ request?
I'll make a motion to approve WZZQ request to broadcast Gaffney High varsity football games for the 2021 season.
I second it.
Motion, Mr. Davis, second. Mr. Blackwell, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. It is unanimous. Next item, Scholars Academy Program, valedictorian, salutatory eligibility. Paul.
I'm going to ask Ms. Painter to do a presentation for you real quick. While she does that, I think that was Ms. Duncan trying to call back in. Robin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Each phone.
Okay. Huh?
We heard you.
Okay, all right, sounds great.
Good afternoon, guys. I just wanted to just revisit. I have put back up for you the PowerPoint that we did in March on the Scholars Academy and the Early College Program, just to remind you of what it takes to be in each of those programs, what is similar about the programs, what students must do to get in those programs. As you know, we're talking tonight specifically about the Scholars Academy, but also just wanted to bring the early college back in front of you as well. I have put the curriculum expectations for the early college there, for the Scholars Academy there, as well as for the early college for those students entering in the fall, actually entering next week. Also just wanted to share, I know there's been some discussion about what about those students who do not qualify or do not take the opportunity to be part of the Scholars Academy. Those students that may in fact be eligible for Scholars Academy but choose not to enroll or choose not to apply for Scholars Academy, therefore don't get the opportunity to enroll, what is left at the high schools for those students to be able to do. And so I wanted to just detail for you a couple of things in terms of our high school course offerings. We do have a total of 24 AP course offerings between Gaffney and Blacksburg High School. Since I was going to talk about AP courses, it was an opportunity to brag a minute about our AP performance. You will see that our passage rate on the AP exams increased from 49.1% to 64.2% over the last 2 years, and that we went from 11 to 15 of those courses at or above the national average. So we're really excited about our AP courses. But just wanted to just make sure that you do realize that we have not reduced AP course offerings, and in some cases have increased those AP course offerings for those students at Gaffney and Blacksburg High School. In addition to that, we have also increased our dual enrollment opportunities for students through Limestone and Spartanburg Community College. New for this school year, students in the 11th grade can begin taking college courses. That is, again, brand new, and they can do that at their high school or on college campuses. And those dual credit offerings, I wrote unlimited because I felt like that was a good adjective to describe that, but those course offerings are pretty varied based on student interest and what students would like to do. I also put a sample schedule there. You'll notice this looks very similar to that coursework that you saw listed for the early college and for the Scholars Academy, because what I wanted you to be able to see this evening is that students who choose to stay at their high school and have a 100% academic focus on their courses have the same and very similar opportunities as the students who are in Scholars Academy and early college. Lots of AP coursework and lots of dual credit coursework. You'll even notice that students who choose to focus 100% on their academic courses, their senior year can take all dual credit courses, just exactly like our Scholars Academy students and our early college students. And then for what was actually on our agenda for tonight, I wanted to just bring before you our current policy for valedictorian and salutatorian and let you take a look at that. That is the policy that was in the registration guide for students who registered for this upcoming school year. So this is the policy that the students saw when they made their choices for course selection for 2020-2021. Questions about that current policy? And then because I know there has been some conversation about potentially excluding the students who are in the Scholars Academy from having the opportunity to win valedictorian or salutatorian, I did put together a sample policy that would exclude them from that calculation based on the cohort coming into the Scholars Academy in 21-22 school year. It would be important to know that in this policy, while Scholars Academy students would not be eligible for Val and Sal, they still would designate a Val and Sal at the Scholars Academy, and those Scholars Academy students would still remain ranked at their home high school, still receive a Blacksburg High School or Gaffney High School diploma, and still participate in graduation ceremonies. Questions for me?
What you're saying is, if I understood you correct, if we do that option right there that you said at the end, yes, sir, we would actually have two valedictorians, one at the high school and one at the Scholars Academy. Is that correct?
Yes, there would be a designation at the Scholars Academy for the graduating class.
Is there a reason we wouldn't go ahead and start this year, 2021?
So the reason that I did not write the sample policy that way is because the students that we accepted into the Scholars Academy for this upcoming school year, that group of 9th graders and 10th graders, actually came in based on the current policy.
Right.
And so this was the policy that was in place when those students applied and registered for those courses. And so when we deal with high school graduation, Val and Sal rankings, we look at the cohort model. So those students those students who are actually already in the Scholars Academy that starts on Monday, came into the Scholars Academy under this policy.
So this year, meaning I guess in 24, 5, whatever that would be, what are we gonna do about this year with this? I guess the reason I'm asking is I was one of the ones, I mean, we've had so many dang calls. I mean, this is sure. Anyway, it's just gotten out of hand. There's many people that have been talking about this. I guess the reason I was for doing it right now is because if we do it right now, then it doesn't, I don't want to get, I think I told Dr. Fall this, I don't want to get to a point where, just like last year, Gaffney High, the valedictorian was not the number one in her class until about 3 weeks before the final. So I guess in my head, before the program starts, I mean the program starts Monday, before the program starts, I feel like we should have the policy. I understand both sides, but I don't want it to be a point of y'all made this policy for this particular kid at Gaffney High School or Blacksburg High School, or y'all made this policy, or this is the 1 year that my kids, you know, I've got a chance at it with my kid or whatever. I'd rather start it from the go and
I think, Mr. Davis, the only
finish it.
The only real concern with that is that this was the policy that was in place when those students were accepted.
Yeah.
And when we look at graduation, we are looking at students who are not going to graduate for 3 and 4 years down the road. So as we're making these decisions, those students would have to theoretically be grandfathered in based on the current policy.
Well, a valedictorian, if that student is number one in their class for Gaffney High School this year, it would also still be number one in that class for the, if we've done a separate one this year as well. Is that correct?
So if you're talking about the proposed policy, Mr. Blackwell, then that is in fact, so students, because the Scholars Academy is a program. It is not a separate school, so it doesn't have its own BEDS code. Regardless of whether or not students are named Val and Sal, does not have anything to do with what they're going to be ranked in their class. If I'm number one, if I have the highest GPA at the end of my 4 years of high school, then I'm ranked number one on my high school transcript from my high school. That may...
I'm just saying a valedictorian of the Scholars Academy program would not be punished in either way because they would still be top in their class, whether they were in the Scholars or at Gaffney High.
Correct. And here's the thing, it's a policy based on, I guess what we've been going by for Blacksburg Gaffney, but given that the Scholars Academy is just about to start, how would what we got for Gaffney and Blacksburg roll into that when it's our job as a board to come up with policies and vote on policies and put them in play?
I think the policy, because it was in the registration guide, that's the only reason why I think the consideration of keeping the policy for the students that are there, because the registration guide, when it's put out and published, it is for the upcoming school year.
And remember, it's a program, not a school. So that policy still is attached to those students.
Yeah, but I'm like, man, I mean, man, we done got emails from people I don't even know. We done got phone calls, and I mean, I'm like, man, if we don't do it.
I looked at, I mean, it's just, I mean, it doesn't matter as far as when it is to me, but I did look just to make sure I wasn't talking out of my head. I got Dorman, Spartanburg, Bowling Springs, Burns, every one of them have a policy. Some of them are more than others. They even go further than what we have here. Most of them include, I talked to Dr. Nix, most of them include their early college in it as well, but others even go as far as to say if you moved into this program in 9th grade and then went back to regular school, you're still not qualified because of the, like the Dormans here, students who attend the Scholars Academy are given an advantage in GPA calculation because of the multiple opportunities for dual credit courses. Therefore, Scholars Academy students may compete for all Scholars Academy honors. However, students who attend the Scholars Academy will be excluded from DHS honors associated with class rank. Scholars Academy students cannot compete for the honor of speaking or delivering the invocation at graduation as one of DHS honors graduates. It goes on to say that you can keep your class rank, you keep your scholarships, you do everything else, but they're not gonna allow that because of the nature. I've heard from teachers, students, parents, and I haven't heard, any that were in support of, because of the way ours is set up. Some schools have it where they go 2 blocks a day or wherever. In ours, there is a high possibility that the students who are attending the Scholars Academy may never step foot on the Blacksburg or Gaffney High campus ever. We can say, oh, in 4th block, they're going to go to that school. But even the way I understand that, they're taking a, say, football block or whatever, those classes aren't even going to be on their transcript as a class, right? They're just basically auditing
It will
this class.
depend, basically, they're auditing the class, it would depend on what time they got there.
So technically, they're not even, I guess that's where the parents are definitely having concerns. They're not even, so in my opinion, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it. I hate it, but, you know, they
If we do it, the only thing I would recommend is that we give those folks that have signed up
yeah,
the opportunity to opt out.
we can do that. And I'm not
Because
even,
they did it based on.
but I'm not even to the point where it doesn't matter to me if we do it. In my opinion, if I was going to the Scholars Academy and I won the distinction of being the valedictorian of the Scholars Academy, that would mean more to me, Matt Davis, to be the district Scholars Academy valedictorian than it would at my home school. However, I get it. But what I'm saying is, if we do it right now, those parents are still going to be the valedictorian. If they're the valedictorian, they're going to be that at the Scholars Academy. And if it is a deal breaker, then like you say, they can go back to their.
The vow and sal is totally board discretion. It's at the local level. You guys have every right to make it what you want. I don't want people to get confused with vow and sal and class rank.
No.
Because that's a big difference. If if you decide to change it and we have a vow and sal for the Scholars Academy and the 2 high schools, then that's board's discretion. But if we want to consider anything with class rank, we would have to apply for a BEDS code for the school, and then we would be bound by all those requirements.
I'm not considering class rank, and I don't even mind, me personally, I don't think most of the parents and everybody that's called minds if Mr. Surratt is the valedictorian of the Scholars Academy and he came from Blacksburg High School or Gaffney High School or whatever might be there in 3 years. We might have a virtual high school the way it's going. I don't mind that person being recognized at graduation. I don't mind that person, just like we do honor graduate. Just maybe that person has its own thing. Each high school does a different thing. This is a new program. We have the opportunity this year, before it starts, to make policies at each high school that we can start a new thing at graduation. I don't even mind them standing up and talking at graduation. I just don't think they should talk as the valedictorian of their class at their high school when they didn't attend their high school.
Well, like I said, that part is totally up to you guys.
We can hold a totally separate graduation if we wanted, because we already do it for the adult.
We could, the scholars, they still would be able to participate at their home school. But if we wanted to have a separate ceremony for the scholars, we could, like adult ed and stuff. You could definitely do that. Like I said, I think the big question here is the vow and sal, and that's totally up to you guys.
Well, I mean, there's still more questions. I know Ms. Painter elaborated, said that they, even going to the high school, they still have an opportunity of loading themselves up with classes. I don't know, I mean, Blacksburg High, 9th, 10th grade, can they take college credits?
AP coursework. AP coursework.
But do they used to be able to take some college classes?
No, we've never offered college coursework. When you're thinking about dual credit or AP, dual credit coursework has typically only been in the 12th grade. We just rolled it to 11th grade this year. For example, Spartanburg Community College says that you have to be 16 years old or have completed your sophomore year of high school before they'll allow you to enroll in their dual credit coursework. The only exception to that are established early college or Scholars Academy programs where students have that support piece in place to allow them to be successful. When we go back to that sample schedule, Mr. Blackwell, that I put up where students have the opportunity, you'll notice in the spring of 9th grade they have AP Human Geography. You'll notice the 10th grade there's options for AP Psych, AP Stats, AP World, AP Bio. I've not even listed all of the AP classes here because I I just tried to pick something that was even logical, that was feasible for a student to be able to do. But with that, with an AP heavy schedule and then taking dual credit coursework in 11th and 12th grade, the students who do this, the students who are at the early college and the students who are at Scholars Academy can all get within 1/10 of a point of each other in terms of GPA. But students who choose to do this all academic focus are choosing to give up those, what you would consider non-academic coursework. They're not, for example, they're not taking classes at I-Squared. They're not taking other elective courses.
Ms. Harper had a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Harper.
Okay, I have a question. So one thing that we're forgetting, we're talking about the valedictorian and the valedictorian, but we're forgetting about the Palmetto Fellows and the Life Scholarship, which the student would qualify, especially the Palmetto, on their sophomore year. If the students are given a chance to take college credit classes, dual enrollment until the 11th grade, then the top flyers that have been working so hard are already disqualified. Because you have to be in the top 6% of your class, which means that no one, other than the people taking early college and the people taking the Scholars College, could qualify for it. And our policy for this year, and I don't know who changed it, is that only 2 dual enrollment classes would count towards your GPA. Because I know personally, my son took 3 in Limestone, and they told me, because he just had extra time to take the class, and they said only 2 could go towards his weighted GPA. So when did we change that policy where, because it is put the kids at a disadvantage. I know my son would not have gone to the Scholars Academy. He played basketball, he played football, he wanted to be at his high school. He did take dual enrollment, and he did take a lot of AP classes. He was an AP scholar, but he still finished 11th because he couldn't count all of his college courses because we had a policy that you could only count 2. So when did we change that? And that is something that you have to think that we're got a lot of kids that would have qualified for the Palmetto Fellows. You have to qualify by your sophomore year. So be in your top 6% by your sophomore year and score a 27 or greater on the ACT or 1400 on the SAT. So I'm just saying, as a parent who is loving the Palmetto Fellows, you're really hurting your GP kids because they don't fall into the average, and the only way that they can stay in the top 6% is to go to the Scholars Academy. So it's not fair, and you can't just look at, well, in the 11th grade, they can start taking dual enrollment. These kids are starting in the 9th grade. So they've already pushed by all these other kids. And you're putting our kids at a disadvantage when you look at the other districts around us, they take them out of the equation altogether.
So Ms. Harper,
We changed that policy where you could take more than 2 classes per year on the dual enrollment at Limestone.
I'll speak to that, Ms. Harper.
That only 2 could count per semester for his weighted GPA.
I'll speak to that, Ms. Harper. The reason we actually chose to change that policy was for the students who were not participating in Scholars Academy or early college. And that was because we wanted to give them the opportunity to take as many dual enrollment classes as they wanted to during their 11th and 12th grade year, so that they would have the opportunity to compete with those students who did early college and dual enrollment and Scholars Academy.
Students can't compete because they can't take it until the 11th grade. So we're supposed to set policy. Why didn't that come before us? And did y'all factor in how these kids are going to be at disadvantage at the end of their sophomore year when they don't have the opportunity that early college does and that the Scholars Academy does for these high-flying 10th graders who decided that they were going to stay at the high school? Because they don't have all the opportunities for AP courses, and they don't have the opportunity for dual enrollment. And I know I would miss $10,000 a year for my son's tuition.
To,
No, I'm just saying, I don't know how we think it's fair, because it's really not fair to the kids who want to stay at their home school, still want to sport, still want to be high flyers, are GT kids and have worked hard to get their class rank to qualify for that Palmetto Fellow. Because you know a tenth of a point will knock you out of that real quick.
To go further on what Ms. Harper's saying, I looked it up too. Actually, a few parents, more than a few, sent me enough to look it up. They pulled up every schedule, every opportunity that their kid could have from 9th to 12th grade. And from looking at it, in 9th grade, Avid, I'm leaving Scholars Academy out, I'm not even talking about it anymore. Avid, early college, gets the opportunity at 2 college classes their second semester that are ranked on a 6.0 scale. AP, we do have one college class. If you took that your second semester of 9th grade, you do qualify for that. You have one. So at the end of 9th grade, it looks like to me we're going to be 1 college credit behind. If you're an honors or a GT kid, you're already going to be 1 college credit behind after 9th grade. 10th grade, we offer 6. Avid will be taking 6 college credits on a 6.0 scale. AP, Gaffney, you could probably maybe get 4. In Blacksburg, you might get 3 if you can get them scheduled. But the problem with AP versus dual enrollment, in my opinion, just looking, is AP, a lot of them are year-long classes. So you're going to take 2 whole blocks of your schedule versus a dual enrollment class, you're only taking 1 block of your schedule. So you're going to automatically get the AP, the year-long AP, you're going to automatically get more bang for your buck on the dual enrollment. But anyway, if you do that, and if the schedules don't overlap, and I've tried to build a couple of schedules, and I had parents building plenty of schedules, and it looks to me like by the end of 10th grade, what Ms. Harper, now 11th and 12th, you're pretty much square, everybody's square. But by the end of 10th grade, if you're in an Avid early college versus an honor or GT kid, and you both take it, you're going to be about 4 classes behind. Depending on Blacksburg and Gaffney, Blacksburg doesn't offer as many as Gaffney in one class, but you're going to be about 3 or 4 classes behind weighted 6.0 classes. So even, I guess, especially the smaller the school, if we had 100, I don't even know, 120 students at Blacksburg this year, so in order to be top 10%, you got to be top 12. If 8 or 9 of them are going to the Scholars Academy, that leaves about 3 spots open that's left at the school. So the part that I asked about when we had our first presentation is what would have happened to me. And your answer was correct. I'm not saying you didn't say it, because you did. Nothing got taken away from me. That's true. So that's what I've been telling parents, is nothing that we did with early college or scholars took away from what your kid was offered last year versus this year. But the part that did happen to me is what Robin is saying with your class rank, your GPA, your scholarship opportunities, because there is not really a way. I see the schedule, but there's really not a way that I can compete. Take an AP class. Number one, I think the AP, correct me if I'm wrong, but the AP went up this year because COVID gave everybody a 3 because we didn't get to finish. But anyway, the thing that is hard is, as an AP class, I know that those kids are going to be busting at GT and honors versus some of the Avid classes that they're going to get college credit for. It might be as simple as a University 101 type class that they might get, or this class. And it's going to be ranked on a 6.0 scale. So if you do the math, even at Gaffney with 350, it is 100% going to affect your class rank, which is 100% going to affect your scholarships, because it has no choice. Now, the difference between Life Scholarship and Palmetto Fellows is not outrageous. I mean, it's not going to, set the world on fire, but the offerings that I see, we do still offer the AP. I had a parent earlier. This is where I'm going with it. I'm not really talking to parents about, I know everybody wants what's best for their kid. What scared me, that I just got off the phone with two, one in the parking lot before I came in, is that they're looking at it as, we're going to move our kids out of this district. We've already, with COVID, lost so many kids. I don't even know the number yet. So much funding that I'm scared to even know the number. We can't lose GT and honors kids. I mean, we can't. A, we can't lose them for testing purposes. And B, we don't want to lose the funding. So when these people are talking about, hey, I've got a rising ninth grader that did not want to go to scholars, and we're gonna leave. That's real. 2 of them left yesterday. They went to Oak Brook Prep. They're gonna leave. And the problem with that is when we set this program up, I specifically remember you saying, we have got to do things like this to keep our honors and GT kids from leaving. So now we've set it up, which I still agree with. I support the program. It's just now we set up here and we set up here, but we forgot these. That's what Rob was talking about. I feel like they're not, I don't feel like they're going to be able to compete either. And by checking it and looking into it, it really does. Much of the parents are right. And what it's doing is it's causing 9th grade kids to already say, A, if we don't change this, A, well, there's no reason for me to try to be valedictorian because I can't. I'm not going to the Scholars Academy. And B, it's already causing them to say, why am I going to go bust my tail and take AP and GT and honors classes when these kids are going to have a higher GPA at the end of the day taking avid early college classes. A lot of the kids that were tutoring the avid early college kids last year are now going to get left under them. Or the last thing that I've heard is that kids that are not qualifying for avid, meaning they don't meet our avid guidelines, meaning their parents are college graduates, etc., are now trying to drop down and go to avid because they want this opportunity to early college, which is fine if we give them dual enrollment, but now we're messing up our avid numbers, we're messing up our data, we're messing up a spot that kid actually needed to be in avid. And so people are figuring it out and they're going, hey, I want my kid to get the college credit and the GPA off of the avid, off of the early college, and not compete and not push our kids and not make our kids go take the AP and not make them take the hard teachers and the hard classes. And I've heard that so many times now. And I mean, the parents that are emailing me they have gone way further in depth than me at going through the schedules. I mean, they sent me a lot of them, but I don't see how, I know that the offerings are there, I just don't see how we can get those AP classes in that schedule where they can compete. Now, you could argue that, well, these kids are going to make a B and these are going to make an A. You might could argue that, but judging a 100 and a 100, I don't see how we can get, how you can say that the honors and GT kids can compete. Class rank or, I guess, at all, I don't see how they can compete.
So a couple of things, Mr. Davis, I'm going to just talk about.
Yeah.
Avid early college curriculum, you mentioned that. That freshman orientation class that you mentioned does not count on a 6-point scale.
Okay.
In addition to that reading 100 or that English 100, those are developmental courses that do not get AP weighting, so
They're
it's not.
4.0. Okay.
Yeah, so there's that. And Ms. Harper, Palmetto Fellows is not just at the end of 10th grade. Students have the opportunity at the end of 11th grade, and then the late awards are also available at the end of the senior year. So there are multiple opportunities for.
Yes, you're right, but they have a better chance of qualifying as a sophomore, because of the way that those college credit classes have always been and how there's been so few AP opportunities for 9th and 10th graders to take. I think at one time they could only take in the 10th grade, and there were only 2 or 3 classes that they could take. So, yeah, you can still qualify, but it's going to be harder when you're trying to chase down these tenths of a, percentage point when you have these avid kids who aren't your GT kids who are already ahead of them in these college credit classes because they qualify for early college when our GT kids won't qualify for that. So, yeah, they can still make the Palmetto Fellows even up until the 12th grade, but it's a whole lot harder, and you realize that, I'm sure.
I think that's what she was just saying with Mr. Davis, that those 3 classes that they have the opportunity to take, and what were the 3 classes?
In 9th grade?
It's the 9th grade classes.
The ninth grade classes, those are not college weighted.
So 9th grade, the avid students at the end of the 9th grade year, they won't have any college weighted classes.
I think they have 1.
So it'll be the same as an AP.
Which one?
Do the GT kids have an opportunity because they don't fit into the avid?
We'll go back to that one in just a second. They're looking at the early college options right now.
Listen, I'm for all kids having an opportunity to do this. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that, you know, these kids are already stumbling as early as the 8th grade, you know, coming into this. And if they don't fit into the avid equation, you know, because they, like Matt said, because they do have parents that graduated college, and they do have the stronger test scores, that's where they get into this. But they just got kicked out, you know? I mean, you either have to go to college academy and not spend your day at the high school, which a lot of these athletes don't want to do that. They don't want to not be at the high school because they do have to take weight training, and they either have to take it in the morning or they have to take it in the afternoon. I mean, they want to be there at their school, you know, and so it's already putting them at a disadvantage. And I'm telling you, these scholarships are heavy duty.
I think that's one distinction there, and I use my own son as an example, and I've used him before, so I'll use him again. He's a student athlete, straight A student, always has been, and this year I shouldn't say he, but we made the choice, because he's going to be in 11th grade this year, and he could have a college credit-worthy class every period. Well, he's not, because he is one of those student athletes and he's choosing to have weightlifting. So therefore, that choice is going to hurt him dramatically as far as ranking or anything else, but that's the choice he made and we made as a family. And I think that and I can only speak for the 3 emails that I've received. I don't know who you all talked to, but on those specific ones, all 3 of those, they made the choice. And these programs are not for everybody because they are strictly academic programs. They are geared to truly just be straight academics. And I know it's not for everybody, but football is not for everybody. Other things that we got in the school is not for everybody. I think that it comes down to a choice decision for a lot of these parents. And, you know, like I said with my own son, you know, we're choosing to let him do the weightlifting and lose out on a college credit class.
Obviously, I don't think there's anything we can do tonight. We're just talking. There's nothing we're going to be able to do to change this starting Monday as far as our college offerings. But is there something that we can do starting second semester to offer more? I know we can't just magically snap our fingers and get AP certified or dual enrollment people, but is there something we can do to see if we can offer more dual enrollment / opportunities for the second semester and moving forward? I know that may not help this kid today, but is there something we can look at to see if we can make? A lot of the parents have asked me, you know, if we've already got a teacher teaching this college class, and we've already got a bus going to the college class if they're going or if they're staying on campus, and we have room in that class, why can my kid not take that class? Which I
Part of it is because of the college policy.
Right, I understood, but they weren't offering that class either. But anyway, what is there something we can look at doing for second semester of 9th grade and 10th grade? 11th and 12th is pretty much good to go, but 9th and 10th grade, I still feel like.
Go pull up the homeschool one again.
So one thing, Mr. Davis, that I will say that is going to help dramatically is that we put Algebra 1 at the middle level. And put it in the 7th grade. And so putting Algebra 1 in the 7th grade for our most academically gifted students will allow students to leave high school with Algebra 1 and geometry, in addition to English 1, and for some of them, also a computer class, that computer science requirement for graduation. So what that's going to do is that's going to help to free up some space in the 9th grade to be able to push more of those 10th grade classes to the 9th grade, to be able to get more of the 11th grade classes in the 10th grade.
Right.
Ideally, a student who starts Algebra 1 in the 7th grade and who pushes through in terms of strictly academic coursework. So, you know, they're not going to take Teacher Cadet, they're not going to I-Squared, they will have the opportunity, if you look at that 11th grade line, that 12th grade line could be on that 11th grade line.
Right.
And we're literally talking, when I say all dual credit courses for 12th grade, if I mean 5 college classes in the fall and 5 college classes in the spring. If students were to get all of their high school requirements out of the way in 9th and 10th grade, they could do that in 11th and 12th grade. And so like even in this schedule, they're doing 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 dual credit classes.
That's why we moved algebra down to 7th grade.
But moving algebra,
That knocks, yeah, I get
but
that.
most of the post-secondary institutions like Spartanburg Community College and Limestone do not support students in 9th and 10th grade taking college coursework in a true college atmosphere, the way that would be required, because otherwise we're talking about adding teachers and adding sections and adding credentials, because you're building a college transcript at 14, 15 years old.
Right.
The reason why they support it in the Scholars Academy and the early college is because those are prescribed programs that have support built into those programs.
I think to answer your question whether or not we could get more, I think it's just something that we gotta look at as our personnel who we have that can teach, not how many sections we can get out of that AP teacher. In other words, if they're capable of teaching 8 and they're only doing 4 right now, then yeah, we could add some AP courses or whatever.
I know this year, the way things are shaping up, it's gonna be different, but I do know that when you get up to that AP level, some of the class sizes are so small.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not as easy as just putting them in there, because that messes up their whole schedule. I mean, I get it, but, I mean, there's really nothing we can take action on this tonight, but I'd love to see, me personally, I think a lot of parents would love to see second semester of 9th grade, 10th grade, to see if there's any way possible we could open up that block to let these kids take an AP on our campus or whatever we need to do.
There's a ton of AP offerings, Mr. Davis, and I think that's what I want to make sure that I communicate, is that there are AP offerings that are available for students.
In 9th grade?
There's AP Human in 9th grade. That's the introduction class
Yeah.
that we encourage. But there's no rule that says they can't take AP Psych in the 9th grade.
That's right, and that goes back to,
I mean-
again, like me and Dr. Paul talked about, as long as, and I agree with, I know, but are our guidance counselors putting them in there? Do our whatever assistant, whoever's making the schedule, do they know that they can put them in there? Because I don't think they do.
I don't think so, because the parents I talked with is saying that they totally can't.
Exactly. So the point is not, I know that's my argument exactly, is we have the offerings, we have the teachers, we have the stuff. Let's make it available to the kids, or let the people know that it's available. Some people have taken advantage of it. I know students that have, but a lot of people don't even know that you can do that.
Well-
And we've had multiple students who have graduated high school with a ton of college coursework, and you guys know that, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. But the other concern that I have, Mr. Davis, and I actually see it a little bit from the other end. So I'm having conversations because right now we're looking at our dual credit offerings for our senior students. So we have senior students, if they were 4 years younger and we had all of this when they started, we have senior students who have the option right now to take 2 classes at Limestone, to take a Monday, Wednesday class and a Tuesday, Thursday class, or at Spartanburg Community. And those seniors are falling into that gap of maybe I'm not 1 or 2, because I'm not taking AP Calculus, so maybe I'm more in that 3 to 10, 3 to 12, 3 to 15 class range, but they don't want to take 2 classes. Like
Well, that's on them, but.
but the point about that is, though, that's a culture issue
Yeah.
in that,
No, I agree.
we have to, this is very AP heavy.
Yeah.
If you look at the Scholars Academy schedule, it is very AP heavy.
Yeah.
There are a lot of AP coursework that students are expected to do. And so students have got to be willing to take everything that we offer. And so that's my question.
No, I agree.
And any parent that reaches out to you or to any of the board members, to Dr. Fall, anytime a parent emails him about a scheduling concern, I get on the phone, we talk to the high schools, we figure out a way. I had a student last year who wanted to do cosmetology but wanted to take Spartanburg Community College classes. And at first blush, it's like that can't happen because it doesn't fit the way it fits. But with a little bit of work and some maneuvering, we were able to do that and be able to offer that student the opportunity to still be in cosmetology, but to take as many Spartanburg Community College classes as she wanted and still meet her graduation requirements. So I think
I guess as long as, in my opinion, as long as we're offering those kids, I realize you're gonna have people who don't choose it. I mean, obviously, you have people who don't choose the scholarship, you're gonna have people who don't choose to push themselves. Hey, I'll be honest with you, I love basketball. I took basketball and net sports, gym, and everything else my senior year because I'd already, you know, at that time I didn't have as many offerings, but I took as many fluff classes as I could. I'll be honest. But with that being said, I feel like, I know that a lot of the parents and the staff don't know that we can even do that. So if the offerings are there, we already offer the classes, we can make it happen. We can tell these parents that call that, hey, this is offered in the 9th grade. This is how. If we can make that available to these kids, hey, I'm tickled. I think they will be too.
Ms. Payne, will all kids have the opportunity to take Algebra 1 in the 7th grade, and listen to me a minute where I'm going with that? Or do you think, or do they have to have pre-algebra in the 6th grade? Okay, so now you're going towards getting into the Scholar Academy. Do you have to have algebra and geometry completed in order to be a scholar student? Because if you do, then you're really picking your Scholars Academy in the 6th and 7th grade.
you're starting to lay the groundwork.
Yes, ma'am.
Laying the
I'm asking how that
groundwork.
works.
You are laying the groundwork for that, for students to get as many, and that's about getting as many high school credits as possible while in middle school. Are we telling students that they can't take pre-algebra in the 6th grade? We do have some criteria that says if you have these, I think it's 2 of 3 and a teacher recommendation, or maybe it's 3 of 4, Dr. Rose, can you remember that? 2 of 3 and a teacher recommendation in terms of students having the ability, and that comes from their performance in elementary school. The last thing we want to do is to set students up for failure in that pre-algebra in the 6th grade. But, you know, of course, we have parents all the time that call and say, well, I want my child to be in pre-algebra, and they're not. What can I do about that? And we have those conversations where we look at each individual student separately and talk about that, and talk about whether or not, you know, a student can do that. And just because I take Algebra 1 in the 7th grade doesn't mean I'm going to be a Scholars Academy kid. But it might be I'm one of those kids that stay at the high
But we
school.
guarantee that you're not going to be a Scholars Academy if you did that.
No.
That's my question.
No, we're encouraging. We do encourage
Okay,
it.
of course. yeah.
And the other
Most
piece,
time I fall in line.
and the other piece of that is if we had students this year who applied for Scholars Academy who didn't have English 1 in the 8th grade. And so they had to make up that English 1 to get them on the level playing field with the other students. I mean, it means they're going to have to do more work to catch up. But it doesn't mean.
You just might not have as many of the college opportunities because you gotta make up that English that you didn't take at a younger age.
I'm satisfied as long as our students, parents, and everybody knows.
Separate designation for these students. I mean, why can't we just end this whole conversation and say that the Scholars Academy is a sub-school of Gaffney High School and let them have their own class ranking and their own valedictorian?
In order to do that, you have to apply for a BEDS code. It's about a year process, and if you have a BEDS code, then you're bound by all other school requirements like guidance counselors and various other. And being that we're small, we would never be able to afford that as a smaller district, opening up a whole new school. That's why we left it as a program.
I'm satisfied with it if we can tell, if we make it a priority to tell our guidance counselors, principals, whoever we got to tell, post your boards, if we have to stand outside in a Statue of Liberty outfit. I want them to know that we have this offering because I think like Mr. Phillips is saying, like Ms. Harper is saying, I think everybody agrees that the younger you get started, you're going to get, if you decide this in 9th or 10th grade and go, oh, I need to get on the train, well, it's too late, you're done.
Well, they put you in GT in 2nd grade.
But you know what I'm saying.
And that's your...
I'm just saying though, you know, as far as the parents don't understand, and then that's what causes this confusion later, is they don't know that those are offered, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't know they were offered, and I think a lot of people don't either, in the 9th grade. And I think that's, the 9th and 10th grade is what I'm focusing on, because that's where they're going to fall behind.
Well, and I'll say it publicly, so hopefully maybe I can encourage some people to do so. Like I asked you guys, if they call you, if they'll call me, we can can sit down with them like I did the couple that you shared with me. I met with them and talked, and we can sit down and go through all that with them. And it should happen at the school, without a doubt. And we definitely will work on that and improve that aspect of it. But, you know, if you all let me know, if they'll contact me, the parents, myself or Ms. Painter or Dr. Rose, we can sit down with them and we can go through it, you know, for their child and exactly where they're at and what they need to do and what's offered and all that. But I know it's very tough for you guys to sit and figure all that out when you don't know yourself. So.
And I think it is. It's daunting. It's daunting even if you work in education to try and understand all of this. I have a high school senior that's starting in 2 weeks, and just having the conversation. Ms. Harper clearly knows more about Palmetto Fellows than I do, so I hope my child qualifies. I need that $10,000 she's talking about. I need to go find out if he qualifies for that. But it is daunting. But I think if parents will sit with us and even I have parents, having been a former principal, who for 4 years I said, this is an option, this is an option, this is an option. But until it really happens, I think sometimes they don't think it's possible.
I'm sure his Zach was GT in the 2nd grade, and the only AP class he could take was human geography. And I tried to get him to be able to take the AP psychology, and he was told no. That's what GT had told no. No, they don't just let you take that class.
I think it's a training thing.
No, and I'll speak now that I'm here. I wasn't here when your son was here, Ms. Harper. I can't address then, but I can tell you our goal is to offer as much as we can to kids that can do the coursework. And they should not be telling them no to that very specific request that you just said.
Not just him. There were about 6 or 7 others that tried to get in this, and they said no.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and that should not be. So I think, you know, like I said, we definitely work on that on our end and make sure that they are maximizing our kids' opportunity, because the classes are there, the opportunity's there.
Oh, that's not enough is done for the GT people, is what I'm trying to say. Because they don't fall into the avid, and they don't want to go to the scholars because they're either diehard Gaffney High School or diehard Blacksburg High School. And because they know the teachers and they know the teachers, and they look forward, like Miss Camp, everybody wants to take Miss Camp's class. You know, her AP English class, she is so good. You know, and she taught them so much that they would have missed that opportunity had they not been there. He wanted to be there. So I'm just saying there's a lot of kids who aren't going to utilize the Scholars Academy, but they're going to fall by the wayside. And they're not going to have that Palmetto Fellows. And they're not, mostly, everybody can apply for that life scholarship, but it's about a $5,000 a year difference. Especially if you take some kind of science and make it in. They get that enhancement. So it ends up being about a $5,000 difference. So, that's something that should have really been considered, because you are going to take scholarships.
So we're going to do something.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion, we go ahead and start this new policy right here, the sample policies you have up this year, and open it back up, like you said, for
We
them.
give that opportunity.
Open it back up, and let them go. I'd like to make that motion that we start that this year, so that it opens that way, we don't have people worried about, we don't know. If those classes are available, as you said, then they should be able to have some big.
We have a motion, Mr. Blackwell, to put this policy in play for this school year, 2020-21, and allow kids to be able to opt back out of the Scholar Academy.
Second.
All right, then.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Second.
Second, Mr. Davis, in discussion. All in favor, show of hands.
I'm sorry, can I hear that motion one more time?
Would you like me to read the policy? Because
No,
can you see it?
we can do that. Robin, Billy said the policy that we talking about, instead of waiting the next year for it to go into play, it'll go into play this school year, and we'll give the kids the opportunity to opt back out of the Scholars Academy.
If they feel this is incriminating them some way, they opt out of it. Not incriminating, maybe not.
Any other discussions? All in favor, show of hand. What you got, Robin?
I'm for it.
Unanimous. Next item on the agenda, 2021 budget preparation. Board approval request, Dr. Fowler.
Asked Ms. Morgan to talk a little bit. We've talked about this numerous times about the school district millage. One of the things that Mr. Davis asked me before was what would a mill look like? Because one of the conversation we've been talking about, which ties in with scholars and everything else, our goal is to offer as much as we can for our kids, and we've talked before about the numerous programs that have been eliminated through the elementary and middle schools over the years because of budget and different things. So if we want to start looking at trying to bring any of those programs back, one mill would cover about 1.8 teachers, FTEs.
Average
So-
salary for an art, music, PE teacher with benefits. If you raise one meal, it covers 1.8 teachers.
So if we're thinking of adding anything back in the future, you know, these mills are very important for that aspect. Plus, I'll just reiterate, and I don't know if Sherry's going to talk about this, but the fact last year, remember you guys raised the mills and it left the budget short. We rolled that same budget over again, and now we do have some of the complications of students leaving and different stuff, COVID related, not COVID related. That's been a trend in the district for several years now, losing students. So, and I believe in her package she gave you the breakdown again. Also, we've given this numerous times about the different costs for a house and what it would cost those people and all that per mill. So, Sherry, if there's anything else that you want to cover.
Basically, what I gave you is a summary of the average millage revenue projection from anywhere from 4 mills to max 9.8. This year, we are capped at 9.8. 9.8 is only going to give you 1.26 million in revenue. Based off of what I can tell from students we are losing to the charter school and anywhere else, the maximum millage is not going to make up the revenue that we're going to lose in the state. That's just plain and simple. I will give you the
Do we have a
example.
number for that? Do we have a number for roundabout students that we've lost so far?
As of today, 422 to the charter school. I do not have numbers if they've gone elsewhere, like you were referencing to other private schools or anything.
We don't know if that's going to be accurate or not because we haven't had that number of requests yet for records. So until all that's done, we won't know for certain until wherever they go, whether it's charter or online or whatever, they have to request those records.
You have the worksheets as an example of what the tax increase would be based off of the assessed values of vehicles around the property, all the way from 2 mills all the way to the maximum of 9.8. Maximum is an average increase of about 5.5% to their taxes.
And we, obviously the big curveball out there that no one knows is what the state's going to do when they come back in September. They could cut some funding, or they could do who knows what. So just something else to keep in your deciding factors of whether to raise the mills or not. And like I talked before, Act 388, while we all agree, I think that was bad for education. It took money from us. One of the things they did to try and offset it was give the board the authority to raise these mills a certain amount every year. And as we talked before, and I think, Robin, I don't want to quote you, but I think you said last time, it's actually hurt our district by not doing it than doing it, and that's the truth of it. We just haven't done it for so long that it's kind of dug a hole.
I gave you a copy last year during budget time where we had not raised millage for, I believe it's 12 years. You graciously raised it 6 mills last year. We still have a deficit in the budget of about $187,000, give or take. So we rolled that forward, so we're still $187,000 in the hole going into it, and the loss of all this revenue from the state. just food for thought. So there, you can talk about millage as well as the expenses and everything.
Mr. Morgan, just because I really don't know, this is learning for me. When a store, I know I've seen a lot of stores, restaurants in town that are closing, especially at the outlet mall. How long does it take for us to see that impact in our budget for, 10 stores at the outlet mall, or just the revenue in general of I know that 1 cent sales tax is going to be way down this year. When is that going to be next budget year, or how long does it take to see that?
And that will be in effect with the local revenue coming in this year. If
Okay.
they are closed and you lose that 1 cent sales tax, in addition to any businesses that are doing fee in lieu of.
And actually, this year, I talked to some of the county council members, the 1 cent sales tax this year is gonna be okay, it's gonna cover the loss of the yellow mall because of the Walmart, Tractor Supplies, and other Lowe's places being so busy, they've made up that income.
Fast food.
But this is gonna be a long-term problem, it's not about this year coming, it's the year after, and the year after, and the year after. When those places that close, of course, don't come back.
But I do think, and, being that Paul did have that conversation, I said at the school board meeting, over the years, we thought we were actually helping the taxpayers by not increasing millage, but really all we did was hurt our school district and our kids and our community fund programs, that, our adjacent communities have readily increased on, where we're scrounging just to fund what we've got, when, they're branching out and doing more for our students than we're capable of doing. We really hurt the whole community by not keeping up with the millage increase.
How many mills is rolling off this year?
The ones that will roll off this year is 1.3 left from 2018-19. When you get in 19-20 was 4.6. This year's 3.9. That makes up your 9.8.
So we're having 1.3 roll off, though.
1.3 will roll off this year.
We'll lose if we don't raise.
Right, if you don't raise at least that amount, you'll lose that.
I got a question. I know y'all been working on budgets and all, but I've got calls. What is it? Maybe it's just not time, I don't know. But, the Girls and Boys Club Road, after school road.
Yeah, I got a call today about that, and we have a meeting Wednesday set up with them. You talking about, I'm guessing you're talking about the $10,000
Yes.
that we used to give per site?
And I said we cut it out.
Well, the funding that it came from was the priority school money. Priority school will no longer accept Boys and Girls Club to be funded out of that money. And that's last year.
That's a program
It would be,
that hurt a lot of kids.
well, and Sherry and I talked about it today.
4 or 5 schools for us.
It's fine.
It would be six.
Blacksburg's supposed to join this year.
Yeah, it'd be 6, so it'd end up being 60,000.
And I think they get matching grants for that also.
What's that?
I believe they get matching grants.
Yeah, they get it.
So they don't-
I want to say it's the 21st Century Grant is what they get it through, except for Gocher. Now, Gocher was, and I don't want to say because I don't know if they put it, but Gocher was funded privately. I don't want to say by who, I'll leave that to Boys and Girls to put out just in case they don't want them out. But Gocher was funded privately, and the other ones are through the grant stuff.
Yeah, I told Dr. Fowler the same thing earlier, Billy. Because that program affects a lot of kids.
That's gonna affect a lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
I mean, I thought that was.
And we got-
We've had it going on a lot of years.
We got a meeting Wednesday, so we need to talk about it and discuss it and see where we can find that money.
Speaking of money, while we're here with you, Sherry, 28.5 was approved in June for the Alcohol and Drug Commission by the board to pay half of a teacher or an interventionist specialist And as of tonight, they hadn't been contacted yet. If you would you please contact them tomorrow and let them know that that was approved and we're working on it. They don't need the money, they just need to know that we're doing it because, you know, school starts Monday.
Right, and that is my understanding, y'all's understanding. If we do this and it's salary and benefits related, it will continue from year to year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Anything else on the millage increase? If there's nothing else, I can go to the next one. The future funds for Gaffney High School scoreboard field, Mr. Blackwell and I talked about this numerous times. It was brought up in one of the previous board meetings. In your packet, you should have a policy, which I know Dr. Carpenter will go over that when we get to the policies. But I just wanted to touch base on it here real quick and let you all know that the issue with that money is there was nothing ever in writing. I wasn't here before when that thing started. I can only speak to the now, and since it was brought up, this is the fix. We put these policies in place so that that money goes only to what it was supposed to go to, and then we move from there. The scoreboard or the field right now has, you got the exact number, Sherry, I want to say 102,000, some change in it.
The stadium rental account?
Yeah.
Stadium rental account currently has $102,819.
And 20 cents.
And 20 cents.
And how many years has that been going on?
That's a rolling balance.
No, he's saying how long have we been in the contract?
I have to go back to the original contract. This is what I have current year.
I'd like to know the numbers, what's supposedly there, what they've spent. Nobody approved.
Well, I can tell you what they spent over this past year.
I want to know all of it.
How many years ago you, I'm just saying, we should have $200,000 at least.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Nationals been playing at least
It was more than
3 or 4
that.
years. I said they've been playing at least 3 or 4 years. 70 grand a year.
That's what I thought.
So we should have over $200,000.
Well, we're putting in,
How much has been spent this year, Ms. Moore? You said you had that, but you
$38,882.20 was spent just this past year. Stadium cleaning for stipends and cleaning crew after their games that are our employees, for pressure washing the stadium, for the traffic control devices, the ice machine that broke, field timers and controllers and wireless receivers, and the $15,000 that goes to the rec department comes out of that money every year.
for the baseball, softball field.
Thank
If there's nothing else on those, like I said, Dr. Carpenter will be presenting those in full later on. The miscellaneous capital budget request, I know that you guys approved the miscellaneous section already in that, but I wanted to bring to you some proposals that we want to spend out of that miscellaneous. The first one is for BitDocs, which is the company we use for scanning and maintaining files for us, as you know, districts have to hang on to things forever. And that was $61,600, and that's to get HR and payroll files scanned and stored. And then the other big one is the music departments for Gaffney High School and Blacksburg High School. I met with both of the band instructors there, and they gave me a list of items that they've been trying to get for quite some time. And I thought that it was very important that we try to do that out of this miscellaneous money. It was about $50,857.20 for sound systems at both places. And once again, these are rough numbers. We'll actually have to bid it out and you know, once it's finalized. But $50,857 for sound systems at both high schools. $28,996 for instruments at both high schools, and $12,054.53 for stands at both high schools.
Dr. Fall, how would that be possible when you've got a 2A school and a 5A school? With the numbers of people, I mean, like, if I'm ordering the bandstands, I would think you'd need more Gampton than you would at Blacksburg, per se, or vice versa, it don't matter what the size
And
of the school.
that's from both of the band directors, that's the total amount. That's not one versus the other, they met together and
Okay.
Gaffney High may have said, I need 30, and
Yes,
Blacksburg
I thought
said,
you were saying each when you
No,
said
no,
it.
no.
It's my fault. Sorry.
No, that's
Thank you.
total for both of them.
I thought you were saying one, because I'm like 50,000 each.
No, that's total for both programs of what they need for their programs.
Thank you.
And that was, like I said, both the directors gave you this list. So total for that, roughly almost 100,000 for the band. It's 91,907, but once again,
You need a motion for that to be done?
what's
You
that?
need a motion for that to be done, or just?
Technically no, because you guys approved the miscellaneous. I just want to be upfront and transparent with you so that you guys know what that miscellaneous is being spent on. I told you I'd do that whenever we spend it, and that's what I'm doing.
I'm good with it, thank you.
So there's that one, and then the other piece, now this one, we're hoping that we get some additional funding, which looks like we probably will in the future. This is more COVID related. Because we can't operate the water fountains, we are going to purchase the bottle attachers that they can go and fill up the touchless bottle fill-ups so that they can still use those. To put one in every school so that they have one in every school, it's $8,424.03. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get reimbursed for that, but we're going to take it out of miscellaneous now, and then if we get reimbursed, we'll put that back into the miscellaneous. So. And that will cover every school. Any questions on that?
That's your thing.
Alright. Next up, we have the board policy review. Dr. Carpenter, if you don't mind going ahead with that.
Yes, sir. Tonight we have 3 board policies, 1 exhibit, and 2 administrative rules. You will need to take action, of course, on the board policies. The exhibits and rules are, as you know, just for your information. First policy is face covering, ADD. It talks about the different types of face coverings allowed, face shields. Our policy says staff members will wear a face covering while on district property or conducting business on behalf of the school district. In terms of our students, all students in 2nd through 12th grade will wear face coverings while on district property or attending a school activity. All students will wear face coverings while on the school bus. In terms of visitors, non-essential visitors to district buildings will be limited. Visitors will wear a face covering while on district property. Visitors will be asked to leave district property if they refuse to wear a face covering. There are some accommodations and exceptions that can be made for health or developmental conditions and or religious exemptions. And finally, in terms of discipline, failure or refusal to wear a face covering by a staff member or student may result in discipline in accordance with district policies and codes of conduct as applicable. That concludes face covering policy ADD.
And I just want to touch on that policy real quick before any questions. That's basically in line with what the State Department put out on the face coverings. And just so that you're aware, just because there's a policy saying they come in with the mask, they're not sitting with a mask on for 8 hours necessarily. Just like in here right now, we have our social distancing, we're separated, so our masks are off so we can talk freely and stuff. It's the same for the kids. That doesn't mean they have to wear them all the time, and I want to make that clear for parents, for you all, and for anybody else that may be listening. The masks, while the state superintendent made it very clear they must be worn on the bus ride, there is no exemption for little kids or anything on that one, other than obviously if there's a health or something like that, there's that exemption. But and then for our school one that we're looking at, obviously, when we talked about this, we're going to exempt those little kids up to ours is looking 2nd through 12 for being the mandatory and all that, because those little ones aren't moving.
Only question I got on that is, what what is our policy or gonna state about what can be on the face mask, actually on the face mask, better in writing. And a lot of parents ask me, they want to order one, per se, but,
It's
it
gonna-
can't be a distraction to the school.
Right, it's gonna fall under a dress code, same thing like with a shirt, if you
So
wear
that'd be
something
up to the
inappropriate
principal
on the shirt.
discretion.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't apply to parents bringing the kids to school and not getting out of the car. They don't have to have.
Right. Just if they're gonna enter the building. Any other questions on that?
What about teachers, as far as the shield? Do they have to have face covering in addition to the shield? Or is it either or?
When in transition, you do.
Huh?
When you're in transition, that's what it is. Mine, you wear your mask, the face shield in the classroom setting, or you can wear it wherever you're at. But if I'm in transition, if I get up and go out in the hallway, I've got to have both on or one in the other, or the mask. I've got to wear the mask in transition. Now, when I'm in the classroom, I can take the mask off and wear my face shield and teach my class. But if I go down the hall, I've got to put my mask on. And I can take it off or leave it on, but I have to have the mask on when I'm in transition.
The CDC changed. Initially, they said a face shield or a mask.
Yeah.
They have changed, and now they said a mask, no matter what, face shield is additional. If you want to protect the eyes or something like that. So you can't just wear the shield anymore.
But does that have anything to do with the distance?
Well, with the distancing, you ain't got to have neither one.
That's what I'm saying, so she's up front, the class is up
Right,
front.
you don't have to have nothing on at all.
I
It's
said
just
we're
if
gonna
you
give
get in,
reports, I'm certain.
if you get into that 6 foot window, that's when you have to have one, you have to have that mask on. Anything else on that?
All right, the next policy is sexual harassment and retaliation of staff, code GDAA. I'm just going to highlight a few points. It says, in keeping with this commitment, the district will not tolerate harassment of district staff in the course of their employment. The district will not tolerate retaliation against a person who has made a report or filed a complaint alleging sexual harassment, or has participated or been a witness in a sexual harassment investigation. If there's an issue, you make a report to your building principal, who generally will report that to me. I serve as the district Title IX coordinator. Title IX is getting ready to change, and a lot of new regulations being put into place from the Office of Civil Rights. So this will come back up probably in the next few months as I work with attorneys in terms of putting together a process of being a coordinator, investigator, resolution, and decision maker. So it's changed quite a bit, so we had to update our policies to reflect that. It talks about confidentiality. Of course, we keep all reports confidential. In terms of discipline, the code of conduct related to the students, and then we have one for staff as well. Along those same lines, in sexual harassment retaliation for students, it uses a lot of the same language. It talks about what a policy applies at in terms of the behavior. The one thing they did add that's relatively new is behavior communicated in writing, electronically, through mail, telephone, cell phones, computers, or other telecommunication devices, including text messaging, instant messaging, and social media. Social media has been getting a lot of publicity nowadays. Same process, they would inform a teacher or supervisor or principal, and they would let me know as the Title IX coordinator. JIAAE1 is an exhibit. All that is a revised complaint form that we'll have to put in our policies. Administrative rule JER, student attendance. This talks about our attendance policies. It says on-site attendance. Attendance is determined by whether the student is physically present in a classroom, on school grounds, or school property. Students who are not sick but who are required to quarantine or self-isolate are provided the opportunity to participate in virtual instruction, utilizing various instructional strategies as determined by the district. Students who are sick due to COVID-19 will be considered lawfully absent in accordance with policy JH. If the illness is prolonged, such students will be eligible for medical homebound instruction as set forth in policy IHBF, medical homebound instruction. Virtual attendance, that's determined by whether the student submits work and participates in activities assigned by the teacher. Attendance for a hybrid schedule. Students participating in a combination of on-site and virtual instruction will be subject to both attendance procedures set forth above. Truancy. State laws and regulations determining absences of truancy are applicable for both on-site and virtual instruction. If they don't follow, we have a written plan, they have a step for that. And then if that still doesn't work, the courts will get involved along with the DSS. And then finally, we have Administrative Rule KFR, Community Use of School Facilities. This is the rule that Dr. Fall was referring to earlier. This was actually drafted by Ms. Morgan. It says Limestone Stadium rental revenue. The revenue received for the use of the Gaffney High School football stadium is deposited to a unique fund account. Based on board instruction, these funds are to be accumulated and used for stadium turf replacement or repair only. No other expenses should be paid from this fund unless approved by the school board as documented in board meeting minutes. Gaffney High School Board advertisement revenue. The revenue received for ads placed on the digital Gaffney High School Board will be deposited to a unique fund account. Based on board instruction, these funds are to be accumulated and used only for school board repairs or future replacement. No other expenses should be paid from this fund unless approved by the school board as documented in board meeting minutes. That concludes the policies, exhibits, and rules for this evening.
On that last rule, I hope that y'all take into consideration, the only reoccurring that I know of as of right now that comes out of that field money is the rental of the baseball, softball fields. I think in the past it has been, as things come up, and obviously we can bring that to y'all, but I would hope that y'all would consider still pulling that from that money. If not, we'll have to find somewhere else to pay for those baseball, softball facilities.
No, we were actually paying for those facilities prior, so I don't know how we were paying for them before.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's the only reoccurring expense that's coming out of that field money that I'm aware of.
I understand. I say how we were paying for it before, because we were already paying for all that before this ever came about.
It was only $3,000, it says it's up to 15 now, am I correct?
You are.
It was $3,000 when I worked at the rec department.
I understand that. The money that we were doing, that money was being budgeted
Yes.
I think it's coming out of athletic fund.
before. And that's what I'm saying. I think right now, even this rule, the way it's written right now, it says that you can do repairs. Repairs. Is that
To the
correct?
field.
Yeah, the field.
To the
Stadium
field,
turf replacement.
which is what the money's for.
Yeah, it says stadium turf replacement or repair only. So they can't be using it to replace, or repair the baseball field. They mean the football field.
But just to the turf.
Yeah.
Yes, just.
Because right now, we're using cleaning and all this kind of stuff.
Why wouldn't the ticket sales money be used for cleaning?
Because that funds all the other sports, because we don't give no money to athletics as a board. We don't designate a certain amount of money to Blacksburg High School or Gaffney High School for athletics. We rely totally on ticket sales, been doing that since 1919. But that's the problem. That's why your athletic budget is $400,000, Mr. Scribb, $300,000 in the hole. Because, you know, like I've said
That's the
before,
ones.
over and over and over, yeah, over and over and over again, you know, you didn't spend money like you do now on other sports, quote unquote. You know, football always got the most spent on it, you know, let's say it was $60,000. Girls softball, you know, back in my early days, maybe $1,000, $1,500. Well, now they all wear Under Armour and Nike too. They all have nice equipment too. We don't have nice fields, but we got nice equipment. But that's just changed. That's the landscape has changed. And what the school board had done is put money aside to start. And other districts do that. District 7, Rock Hill, anywhere you ask. You know, and what I say about that, they might only give $40,000, Mr. Bailey, to start the year. But at least they've got something to start with. We totally rely on ticket sales, and as you've seen over the years, ticket sales are not what they used to be. And when we moved, we lost a lot of money.
And we go publicly say we don't need it, though, what do you expect?
Just one correction, Mr. Phillips, there is $31,000 coming out of your general fund that's allocated to athletics at 5 schools.
At 5 schools, correct? So they all get about
It's
6,000,
now rolled
yeah.
into district.
I'm talking about 40,000 in one school, not
No,
that. Yeah, that's right.
31,000
I mean,
under
yeah.
Cumberland.
And honestly, hopefully, once we get straightened out what Kevin just said, if we could do that, then it would really help them. Because football supports probably 90%. In Blacksburg and Gary, of your budget. I mean, so.
That's right, that is so.
Well, I was told one time years ago, very few people play Blacksburg. This is family, about 1998, we want to change coaches. Now I see my way in the home, we don't know where to play. Maybe it's changed, I don't know.
You good, Dr. Carter?
Yes, sir. We require work for those first three policies, policy ADD, GBAA, JIAA, first reading.
Do I hear a motion to approve policy ADD, first reading?
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Cook.
Second.
Second, Mr. Davis, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous. Policy,
Yes.
policy GBAA, first reading.
Motion to approve policy GBAA.
Motion, Mr. Davis. Second, Mr. Phillips, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands.
Yes.
Policy JIAA, first reading, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion, Dr. Nick. Second, Mr. Blackwell, any discussion? All in favor, show of hands.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Next item, executive session for the purpose of discussing related to the superintendent's evaluation in terms of employment, personnel matters for the purpose of discussing the employment, discipline, or release of employee and employees of the district and contractual matters. Motion, Mr. Phillips. Second, Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Hearing none,
Great.
We have been in executive session for the purpose of discussion related to the superintendent's evaluation in terms of employment. The heard motion to go back in open session.
Motion, go back.
Motion, Mr. Davis.
Second.
Second, Dr. Nix. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. They unanimous. We're now back in open session. Is there any action needed from executive session? Next item, superintendent's report. Also, Dr. Fall has informed me that tonight is the last night of the deadline for us to approve millage. Superintendent's report, Dr. Fall.
Personnel recommendations, I recommend that the board approve the personnel recommendations.
Like a motion to approve the personnel recommendation.
Motion, Mr. Phillips.
Second.
Second, Mr. Davis, to approve superintendent's personnel recommendations. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous.
Next up, request for course approval. Ms. Painter, that's for middle and high school. And before she goes through the list of courses, I just wanted to remind y'all, I know this happened, might have been my first board meeting with you guys, and it was early on, that August meeting when we did the courses. And we talked about it then, about how putting them all on one instead of listing them by school, so that all the schools had the opportunity if they wanted to add that course. So when she reads them, it's just going to be one list that would be for all middle schools and all high schools versus how it was before. Just to remind you.
Do you guys have that list on the date? Is that in their packet? Okay, so the list is already in their packet, if I recall.
Oh, okay.
So there is a high school list and a middle school list, if there are any questions.
All right, no questions. I'll move on to the next is technology. Mr. Hughes.
We got to approve it.
We haven't fixed it.
We got to approve it.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't know if you're going back and going online.
I'll make the motion to approve the courses.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Phillips, second, Mr. Davis, to approve the courses for middle and high schools. Any question? All in favor, show of hands. That's unanimous.
Next up is technology, Children's Internet Protection Act, CIPA. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Paul. Just once a year, we have to make sure we stay in compliance with federal guidelines. So we have to have this open session. And our requirements to meet those are that we have we must monitor and block and filter student access, as well as train them. And we do have our content filter in place that's updated nightly, as well as the education format that we use. We use Common Sense Media to have students trained on online behavior, and that's sent in to us, and we keep that in case we're ever audited. So we just want to make sure we meet the federal guidelines to keep the federal funds able to come in. Thank you, Dr. Paul.
Good, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next item, board newsletter, Dr. Fall.
A copy of the August board newsletter was included in your packet. You should have that.
Okay.
Next item, announcements, Dr. Fall.
Announcements, a copy of the August, September announcements were included in your packet. I just want to make sure that you pay special attention that we'll have a Monday, August 17th for new board members swearing in ceremony and reorganization of the board officers. And that's pending as long as there's no runoff, because I believe the runoff is the 25th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is.
So if there is a runoff for any of those seats, we would have to postpone that.
We have runoff for ours.
You can't.
Nobody had over two, so.
Nobody had
Oh,
it too.
okay. Then we don't have to worry about that.
Well, it still could possibly be if it's not certified.
Well, if anything happens,
Yeah,
just know that we might have to change it, but as of right now, it's 17. And then before we get to the other part, I just would like to reiterate that tonight is your last opportunity to take any action on the millage rate. The district desperately needs millage, as you all are aware, as we've discussed numerous times. So hopefully there's some action on that.
I mean, we gotta do something.
What is the recommendation of the superintendent and the finance department for millage rate increase?
Well, truthfully, I mean, because our view, as I said before, I view the millage as what is expected for the districts, which many districts have been doing. I think if anything less than the 9.8, you're leaving district money on the table. I'll leave it that way. And you know, once again, that's your guys' decision.
We got back to 1.3, right?
What's that?
We got back to 1.3 right here. What you said.
That's what we'll lose.
that's what we're losing.
Right. You all know the finances of the board, of the district. 9.8 mils is 1.2 million. While that's a lot of money, you know, that's a small amount of what the district needs if we're going to continue moving forward and with the uncertainties that we have lying ahead of us.
I understand this is a bad position to be in. I know that we need the money, but also the uncertainty, not only for the school district, but our community and our country. It's not just us. And that's an even more difficult decision. You know, it's very, very hard to sit up here and say, hey, we need more money. And you got people that are going out of business and not able to work. It is now, we know it might not change.
I think last meeting we talked about this, we approved the capital budget. People in our community don't understand that there's a difference between the capital budget and the operating budget. You can't tell them. And I can tell you after that night that we voted, I heard 100 times, if y'all got $300,000 to spend it on a scoreboard, you better not raise my taxes. It's hard, I agree, we need a millage increase, I know we do, I know that we have to have it to function, but I'm in the same boat. It's hard for me to swallow some of the things that we've done and then go out and ask for that much money. I'm okay with, like I said when I ran, I'm okay with a couple of meals a year, every year. It's easy to swallow for me, rather than get somebody with 10 meals at a time. That's the way I operate. I don't think, I know that you say some people are raising 10 meals, and they are in Fort Mill and Greenville and places that are booming, and we're not booming. I can tell you that part of this job, like Kevin said, the hardest part for me is balancing listening to teachers and students, balancing listening to community, balancing listening to you guys, and listening to everybody else. And if you look at that organizational chart, unfortunately, for me, the organizational chart puts the public number one. And in my circle of people, they don't want a millage increase this year. So unfortunately, I know we need it, but I can't do it either. I can't make the motion in a second, I can put it that way.
Well, like I mentioned before, and, the millage that was raised last year left the budget short. And we're still in that same boat, and we still got the same number of schools and everything else, and it's gonna be, very difficult.
There will be cuts.
What's that?
So you're saying there will be cuts?
Cuts as far as?
Something has to do if you can't meet the budget.
Well, right, I mean, if the millage isn't, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Something's got, because last year when you raised the mill, the budget was still short. I think
187,000.
187,000. That didn't go anywhere, if anything, and then you throw in the COVID impact and all those kind of things, and then the number of buildings, I mean, it's.
We still don't have any idea what kind of federal money you're gonna receive, do you, this morning?
Federal money for,
For any of this COVID cares, I mean.
yeah, we know exactly what we're
Well,
going
the
to
carries, we got to
But
prove
it's
that.
already,
So much, I mean, so far, you know.
Right, the second round, we don't know
we do
yet.
not have anything on that.
If there's more to come, we don't know.
Right.
Any idea on what we're going to spend potentially on increasing cleaning supplies, having hand sanitizer?
Well,
schools and-
I don't want to say it 100% sure because we don't know. It's our best estimate. I think we're going to be okay with what we've ordered to this point using the CARES money. So I don't know that that's going to impact us tremendously at this point.
Well, any of our faculty, the teachers, basically their classrooms, they're going to have to spend their own money for cleaning supplies.
No, we got cleaning supplies for everything.
I guess so reiterate, if there's no millage increase, there will be cuts potentially coming in.
I don't know how we can
Unless
fix
we take a strong look at the budget and see where things can be cut budget.
There still might be cuts even if we raise it to 9.8, correct?
Yeah, because we don't know what the future holds. And I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but I think, we talked about this numerous times. Robin reiterated it again earlier. It's unfortunate that we haven't been doing the little ones like Matt had mentioned just a minute ago, that it would be easier if we were doing a couple here and there. But when it compiles and builds up, it's tough to swallow. I get that.
I make a motion that we have a 3 mil tax increase.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Mr. Phillips and a second from Mr. Banks. We have a 3 mil tax increase. Any discussion? All in favor, show of hands.
Yes.
That's unanimous. time, other matters, Mr. Terry.
Thank you all for the job you did. Hopefully we have a safe opening for this school year and keep the kids and faculty safe. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for what you did.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes, after a long night, sorry I kept up so late, that's my fault, started at 7 o'clock tonight, guys, but y'all, the district employees that stayed tonight, we do appreciate you. I understand completely what you're going through. I'm going through the same thing in my school district. And we'll start school next week. Let's everybody put on their best smile and let's move forward and try to make Cherokee County the best that we can. Dr. Fowler, appreciate you. Ms. Harper, appreciate your service to Cherokee County.
Thank you.
Just, I know we had a lot of discussion regarding scholars and AVID, but I just want to reiterate, I really think we need to make sure that we communicate to our parents the offerings that are there and ensure that our guidance counselors are there communicating what's offered. I do have some concerns regarding some of the classes, such as dual credit, that some classes are being like having 2 different courses offered at the same time, so students don't have that opportunity to take each separate one. So I think some of the master scheduling needs to be looked at the schools to ensure that there's more opportunities for these students to take these dual credit courses. Also, I do think we also need to look at making sure that parents understand when they start these college courses that it does affect their life scholarship if they do not maintain their grades. So you start taking college level courses, if you don't maintain that B average, you can affect your life scholarship or the potential for Palmetto Fellows. And as Rob said, Palmetto Fellows, your requirements are pretty high to get it prior to your senior year, and you got to have by your junior year a 1400 or a 32 on the 1400 on the SAT or a 32 on the ACT and maintain a 4.0 GPA. So you got high requirements to get Palmetto Fellows, whereas a senior, it's really basically your top 6%. Where I think a lot of parents are having their concerns with class rankings is where their child will fall for that potential for Palmetto Fellows, because you have to have the top 6%, 1200 or a 20 on the SAT or 27 on the ACT, and a 3.5 GPA. The requirements are pretty steep with regards to Palmetto Fellows, but that is a lot of the questions. We just want to make sure there's fairness in offerings to all students, that they all have the opportunity to exceed and excel whatever program it is, whether it's Scholars, AVID, or any GT kids who choose not to go into Scholars that could have. And also, with regards to the AP Psych, I don't even think that's offered in the 9th grade at VHS. I think that's something that needs to be followed up on to ensure that that's the case. And as Mr. Phillips said, Robin, thank you for your service to the county, and enjoy your time being off the board.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for staying late, and if you're still watching at home, we feel sorry for you. No, we appreciate you for tuning in too. Thank you guys in the room, everybody, for working so hard. It's been crazy, to say the least. I think there's been a lot of confusion, and a lot of people have fussed at y'all and us and Dr. Fall and everybody else, because everybody's just frustrated for the wrong reasons. Most of the stuff is coming from the federal. We talked tonight before the meeting about the CDC's changed their mind 3 times today. I know that a lot of you guys take the brunt of that, and I hate that, because we're all just trying to do the best we can for the kids, and I appreciate what you're all doing. To Miss Smith, if she's listening or whatever, and Miss Harper, we appreciate the service. I think this past year 2 years has been a wild ride, to say the least, for you guys, and look forward to next week meeting some new faces and moving forward with them. In closing, we appreciate Dr. Fall, and I hope that our parents and students continue to bear with us, as we're not even close to out of the woods with all this yet. I've been talking with people, and I ask people to please check the Cherokee County School District Facebook page or your school or whatever for your information. and, you know, believe what you read from the Cherokee County School District and not members of every other social media site in the world. Believe that, and I really feel like you'll see that people here are working as hard as they can for your kid to be safe and still learn. So, thank you.
All right. I'd like to, I guess, echo the comments here that's been made, as well as say, tomorrow, this may be my last meeting, we don't know, I hope not, but if not, Dr. Fall, I'm going to ask you to make sure you would please, after your meeting with this Boys and Girls Club committee, when you meet with them, keep us informed on it, because I know there's over 450 kids involved in that, and really, that's pretty cheap for what we get out of it, I think. Let us know how the funding's coming about, whatever comes out of that, because it is kind of interesting. And I know they put I think if I was told right, somewhere in the neighborhood of $130-some odd thousand a year back in their teacher salaries to help pay that. And it's costing us like $50,000 a year for it. So, I guess the rest of it's coming from grants or what they're getting. But I know it's going to affect a lot of kids, and I think they get something out of it. They get a good bit out of it from what I know about it. I know it's been going on a long time. But I would like to say to Ms. Harper, I've enjoyed on the board with you. If I'm still here, call me anytime. If not, maybe we're passing on the street. That's it.
Ms. Harper?
I just want to tell you how much I've enjoyed working with all the current board members, the superintendent, and also the previous board members. It's been a great 3 terms. I think we've gotten a lot accomplished, but I know that y'all got hard work ahead of you. And if there's anything I can do in the future, just feel free to call. And I pray for all our students, teachers, staff, and board members, and all of that. I know that you have the best interest in our students and in Cherokee County, and I thank you all for your services. It's been great. Thank you, y'all.
Again, we thank Ms. Harper and Ms. Smith. Their years of dedicated service to Cherokee County School District students and the staff. We thank each and every one of you. I want to encourage the people that may be still listening 3.5 hours later to go vote tomorrow. Go vote for somebody. This is an important election with our mayor. Also, Dr. Fowler, obviously next month we will have at least 3 new board members. So you need to schedule a workshop / board orientation for the new members before the September meeting, so they can get acclimated to some of the terminology. Because when you get on here at first, you be lost about the first 3 or 4 months. And I thank God for Mr. Will Cross, because I used to go to his house a whole lot, get answers to my questions. It's been long enough for the night. I hear motion to adjourn. Motion Davis. Second, Ms. Hall.